How is it going, YouTube? Mo Sports Network here, back with a new video today for this channel. Today we are going to be doing the beginning of our top 32 NFL teams this season, and today we are starting with the team I think is the worst team in the NFL this season, and it is the Washington football team, formerly known as the Washington Redskins. I think this team probably is the worst team in the NFL this season, and I'm going to explain why in this video. Now, I was bobbing between two teams. Is this team the worst? Is this team the worst? And just really looking at the roster, top to bottom, I just feel like the Redskins are the worst. Now, there are some good things about this team. This team is not a number 32 team that you would typically see in years past. Teams like a lot of people projected the Dolphins last season, or like the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. This team will not go 0-16. This team will win games, and there are bright spots about this team. That being said, I think they are the worst team in football at the moment. And we're going to start with the ownership, because as a Bengals fan, ownership can hit rather close to home for me, poor ownership specifically, and Dan Snyder has shown in the past couple months, through his whole tenure in Washington, but especially the last couple months, he is not fit to be the owner of this team in my eyes. I don't think, as long as Snyder has the team, this team will not be winning anytime soon. I think he should sell the team. I think people want him to sell the team, but hasn't sold it as of the making of this video. The team name is changing. We don't know the team yet. I'll change the name of this video once the team name is decided, but we don't know that yet, and we can't speculate. So as of now, Snyder's the owner of this team, and that hurts them badly. Now the coaching staff, I am a fan of Ron Rivera. I think his culture will help this team. I just don't think this team is in any position to compete right now where it is. And we're going to start looking at the roster right now, which is what I have up on my computer, and it starts with the signal caller, Dwayne Haskins. I think Dwayne Haskins has high potential this year. That being said, I have seen nothing from him that can prove to me that he is a quality NFL starter, or even better than like a middle-of-the-line NFL starter right now. Redskins fans will tell you that he much improved. Let me preface this by saying Dwayne Haskins, I was rivaling him with Kyler Murray. That's how high I was on him coming out of Ohio State. I am a huge Dwayne Haskins guy, but I'm not here to speculate. I'm here to tell you what I know, and what I know, Haskins threw 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last season in the games that he started. He did better down the stretch. Redskins fans will tell you that, but I haven't seen the growth from him to even say that he's a top 25 quarterback in the league right now. And with this offense around him, you need to be much higher than where Haskins is at the moment to compete. This team needs some time, and unfortunately, if this team finishes worse in the league, I don't know if Haskins will get this time, which is a shame because he's incredibly talented. I just don't know if Haskins will be able to elevate this team to the point that they need necessarily. And then looking at running back, it's an interesting group. Darius Geis has not been able to stay healthy yet since he has entered the league. I think he has pretty decent potential, but he has hardly been on the field. Adrian Peterson, old. It pains me to say it, but he is not the player he once was. Then you look at Antonio Gibson, the rookie, and J.D. McKissick. They're going to be situational backs, not really going to affect this running game too much. This running game is going to need Darius Geis to stay healthy, and I have not seen that yet from him. A lot of this team's is just based on what ifs. What if Haskins can take a next step we haven't seen from him? What if Darius Geis can stay healthy, which we haven't been able to see from him, and that hurts. Another thing that hurts this team a lot is the receiving core. I love Terry McLaurin. I'm a giant Terry McLaurin fan, along with Haskins coming out. He is the only receiver I have any faith in on this team. Steven Sims, Um, I don't love Steven Sims. Antonio Gandy-Golden's a rookie. What are we going to get out of him based off of what he can do from COVID? We're going to training camps late. That hurts. Cody Latimer, he's been bounced around the league a lot. Like Trey Quinn maybe can do things. There's a lot more questions than answers other than Terry McLaurin and this receiving group. That concerns me a lot on this offense. Jeremy Sprinkle, Logan Thomas, Richard Rodgers, Thad Moss, all question marks at tight end. Jordan Reed was never healthy, but losing Jordan Reed hurts this team in my rankings. None of these guys even are as good as an injured Jordan Reed. Like Sprinkle can be okay. What were his stats last season? I don't even specifically know his stats from last season. 241 yards. Like that's their best tight end threat they have here. So the receiving group, not good. And then offensive line, more question marks. Brandon Scherf, great guard, great player to have. The rest of the players is a yikes. They on draft night they traded Trent Williams to the San Francisco 49ers. Great move by the Niners. I just said his name. I can't believe it. Trent Williams. Oh my God. He doesn't want anything to do with Washington. I don't blame him. If I was on Washington, I'd want nothing to do with them right now. Replacing him is Jerron Christian Sr. I don't know if any of the players on this roster other than Brandon Scherf can play at a high level, and that is concerning. When I compared them to the other team, my number 31 team on the league, offensive line was a big thing that separated them. This Redskins offensive line is a gigantic question mark, especially when, other than Morgan Moses and Brandon Scherf, like the center to the left of this line is mainly unknown. Lots of guys competing for positions, and it's very concerning. So offense, if Haskins could take a step forward, they have some potential, but if he doesn't, probably the worst offense in the league. And I don't think that's a stretch, to be honest. Going on to the defense, this is where you can be a bit more optimistic. This defense is solid. And we're going to start with the defensive line, which I am a huge fan of. There is a lot to love about this defensive line. Chase Young, first overall pick, he's going to be a stud. And Ryan Kerrigan, he's been great for the Redskins while he's been there. Matt Ioannidis on the defensive line, a very solid player to pair along the two Bama boys, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Montez Sweat, I'm not allowed to speculate, but he should, at least I didn't speculate with Haskins, so I'm not going to speculate with Sweat, but he should be a solid backup edge rusher. Tim Settle even is a decent defensive lineman. This is going to be a very, not only is it a good defensive line, it's probably top 5 in the league if Young is what we think he is out of Ohio State. It's a very solid edge rushing group and defensive line as a whole. The offensive lines in the NFC East overall are pretty decent, other than Washington's, but a lot of the teams they play this year are going to be, their quarterbacks are going to be running for their life. And then after the defensive line, my optimistic drops off a little bit with the linebacking group. I forgot to mention run stopping. Allen and Payne can get it done there for sure. No questions there with run stopping. So we move on to linebackers, and this is where I have more of a concern. Thomas Davis, I believe, is 37 years old. That's a bit concerning. I don't know why I have Doug Marrone up right now. I think I'm just researching his records in the league. Big question mark there. Reuben Foster hasn't played an NFL snap since 2018. He's a stud, but is he hasn't played since 2018, and he's not going to get a full camp because of COVID. That's a bit concerning. And then John Bostic, He's a body there, but John Bostic doesn't inspire you as a linebacker, like many of the good middle linebackers around the league. He's not young. Pardon me. I'm not even. He's like 29, 30 years old, around there. So nothing to be very inspiring from this linebacking group. Sean Dion Hamilton is interesting, along with an old Ryan Anderson. These are some interesting players in this linebacking group who aren't starting. And maybe this ESPN projection isn't 100% correct. There are some bodies, some people who can run around and do things at linebacker, but it's not at the level it needs to be to compete. And then the secondary is not horrible. Kendall Fuller coming back, and Fabian Moreau are a solid 1-2. You also have Aaron Colvin, who is a solid slot guy. You have Ronald Darby. So the secondary should be decent here. Landon Collins, I like a lot at strong safety. Sean Davis, Troy Apke. That's interesting at free safety. Not one of the upper tier free safety groups in the league. So they could definitely improve there. But I think at their starting corners and at strong safety, they are definitely sitting in a good spot. Kicker and punter, I'm going to pretty much say the same thing for most teams. It'll be passable. Dustin Hopkins is okay. And now we're going to look at the schedule for a bit. Now, this schedule does no favors for the Redskins. They do have a last place schedule, so that should help them. But they have it tough, I'm going to be honest. Eagles twice, Cowboys twice. I would not be shocked if there's 4 losses right there. Redskins surprise at least one of them a year usually. So when I'm calculating my win totals for each team, I wouldn't be shocked if they beat one of them, but that could easily be 4 losses. Arizona's much improved. Cleveland, they're not going to be as bad. Baltimore's a Super Bowl contender. LA can't be losing games like the Redskins if they want to compete in the West. New York, those games are winnable. I'm not super high on New York either, but I think they're better than the Redskins right now. Detroit, Cincinnati, another 2 winnable games, but I think both of those teams are better than the Redskins because they have less question marks across the board. Cincinnati has Boyd and Green, and Detroit has Galladay. I don't think McLaurin is near those guys, let alone the rest of the receiving group. Not to mention the rest of the team just as a whole. Pittsburgh's defense, disgusting. Same with San Fran's. Seattle has Russell Wilson. So there's a lot of concerns across the board for the Redskins. So how would I project their win total? I don't think this is like a Cincinnati Bengals last year, or a 0-16 Cleveland Browns or something along those lines. I think this team will get 3 wins. As dysfunctional as this franchise is, 3 wins would be pretty okay. I think you're looking at one of these New York games. I think you're looking at Carolina here. I don't know if they're going to be playing for anything at this point, so that's a winnable game for them. I think Philly coming to you and Dallas coming to you, both of those are possible. And then potentially Cincy coming to you. So that's 4 games that I see winnable. And then the upper side of their possible win total, I think they could maybe steal one from Philly and Dallas. Potentially they could take one from New York. I don't think they're going to sweep New York regardless. That'd be 3 wins. Cincinnati could be 4. Carolina could be 5. The schedule's tough for the Redskins, and I hope Redskins fans will agree with me on that front. I see this team 3 to 6 wins at most. I don't see them losing more than 3. Don't worry. I'm not going to have anyone as I think this team will win 2 wins. And I also don't think they're probably going to have more than 6 wins. Looking at how challenging a lot of the defenses and quarterbacks are on this schedule for the team. So again, to review, the problems with this team, don't know what you're getting out of the quarterback play. Run game isn't that big a deal, but it's not inspiring. You have one receiver who good corners should be able to blanket decently. Nothing. The offensive line, more questions than answers. Defensive line's really good, but then the linebacking core needs a lot of help, and the secondary is decent. So the only places I think I am high on this team is right guard, secondary, and the defense, along with the coach and Ron Rivera. I think if anyone can help this team, it is him. And then the schedule's brutal, which is why I have them all the way down here. If I don't actually know if there is a situation, maybe some of these home and away games get flipped, and that helps their schedule situation, but I just think it's so brutal because I don't think very highly of them as a team. So the Washington football team, I have them as my number 32 team in the NFL. So stay tuned for next week, or next episode, maybe not next week even, where I announce my number 31 team. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.